All right, hey y'all. We just got through writing our small group questions. Dan had to leave early, and so he's not here. So I'll talk for a couple minutes to give you a little coaching insight for this week. And before I do that, I want to tell you thanks for the time and the effort and the prayers and the leadership that you are lending toward the group of people that you're ministering to. You're making a huge difference in their lives. I get to hear some of the stories, and I hope that you get to hear some of those stories too. But I want to tell you thank you very much for what you're doing with the groups and the people that you're leading and ministering to. This weekend we're talking about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and really the overarching question this weekend that we're trying to answer, that I hope to be able to answer, is what happens to our faith when things don't go our way. And that's the overarching theme that you might want to kind of wrestle through and wade through with your group this weekend, is what happens to your faith when things don't go your way. And very familiar passage of scripture, I think, for most people if you've ever been to church. And you've probably heard this story sometime since you were little, if you've ever spent any time in church. Just two or three things I want to call your attention to. The fifth question in the exploring section is, how much are you willing to risk emotionally, economically, personally, spiritually, etc., in order to obey a clear commandment of God? And that's a really important question. And so I want to ask you to really try and wade through that and talk through that with your group, because the Sunday school answer is, well, I'd give everything, but maybe most people probably not going to say that, and very few people want to actually do that. So let me suggest some scenarios you might want to toss out to your group to kind of help them think through this a little bit. When you say how much you're willing to risk in order to obey a clear commandment of God, you might say, for example, if God told you to move to Africa, how much of a risk is that for you? Would you be willing to do that? Because in America, we just think of risk as being something that's physical primarily, and a lot of times financial, and we don't think about risk in other ways. But what about God told you to move to Africa and be a missionary? Here's another scenario you might want to toss out. What about if God told you to share Christ with your father? Would you be willing to do the risk involved with that? Another one came up with, what about if God told you to clean out your savings account and give it to some people who were in really deep need? Another scenario is, what if God told you to sell your house and move into a smaller house so that you could free up some margin in your life and have more quality of life with your family? How about it if God told you to adopt a child from another country? That's another scenario we came up with. Another one was, what if God told you to give your winter coats away to some people who don't have a winter coat this year? So anyway, that was just a question. That's question number 5 in the exploring section that we thought was really important, would be real helpful. And then I know sometimes in our groups we get to the next step questions and sometimes we don't. This week in particular, these next step questions work really well for the group as a whole to talk about and maybe spend some time on that. 2 questions: in what area of your life do you believe God may be calling you to take a stand and some action? And the other question that goes along with that is, how can this group stand with you and pray along with you on that? So I thought that those things might really generate some good discussion with your groups. Sorry for the long video this week. Thanks for what you're doing, and I'm going to shut up because I feel like I should tell jokes at this point, but I'll be quiet. Thanks.